In this video, we explore the Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2. We begin with Sanjaya describing Arjuna's profound despondency and grief to King Dhritarashtra, as Lord Krishna prepares to offer guidance. Krishna begins his teaching by addressing Arjuna's emotional collapse on the battlefield. He describes this hesitation as kashmalam, reminding Arjuna that abandoning duty is unbefitting his noble character. Sri Krishna strongly admonishes Arjuna, urging him to cast off his sudden emotional paralysis. By using titles like Partha and Parantapa, Krishna reminds Arjuna of his proud lineage and his reputation as a warrior. Arjuna expresses his deep dilemma. He feels it would be sacrilegious to strike venerable figures like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of his worship, even in the context of battle. Arjuna argues that it is better to live by begging than to enjoy life by killing these noble teachers. He believes that any victory won through their deaths would be forever tainted by blood. Caught in moral indecision, Arjuna questions if victory or defeat is superior, as both paths lead to a tragic outcome. He feels that killing his own kin would make even victory feel like a loss. Admitting his helplessness, Arjuna formally asks Lord Krishna to be his guru. This is a pivotal transition in the Bhagavad Gita, as Arjuna surrenders his ego to seek spiritual instruction. Arjuna confesses that he can find no way to dispel his grief. He realizes that even gaining sovereignty over the earth or the heavens would not resolve his profound internal and mental anguish. After speaking, Arjuna declares his final decision not to fight and falls silent. By addressing Krishna as Hrishikesh, he indicates his hope that Krishna will guide his senses and mind. In the midst of the armies, Krishna smiles. This smile displays both compassion and confidence, contrasting sharply with Arjuna's grief as Krishna begins to speak to awaken his soul. Krishna points out Arjuna's internal contradiction. He speaks of high moral duties, but grieves like an ignorant person. This marks the beginning of the Gita's teaching on the immortality of the soul. Krishna establishes the fundamental truth of the soul's eternity. He explains that there was never a time when he, Arjuna, or these kings did not exist, and all will continue to exist in the future. This verse makes a clear distinction between the transient body and the eternal soul. Just as youth transitions to old age, the soul moves from one body to another at death. The wise remain unmoved. Krishna teaches that sensory experiences like pleasure and pain are temporary. He advises that wise individuals learn to tolerate these passing dualities calmly, knowing they are impermanent. Finally, Krishna explains that equanimity is the essential path to liberation. A steady person who remains undisturbed by pleasure and pain is eligible for immortality and spiritual freedom. In this next section of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna presents a profound philosophical truth: the transient nature of the material world and the eternal reality of the soul. Krishna teaches that reality cannot be derived from what is non-existent, and the truth of the eternal soul is understood by those who perceive the ultimate reality. He explains that the material world and the physical body are constantly changing. Because they lack permanent existence, they are considered unreal in the absolute sense. Wise seers, Krishna notes, look beyond these temporary perceptions. They focus their consciousness on the unchanging divine essence of the soul. Moving forward, Krishna explains that consciousness itself, which pervades the entire physical body, is completely indestructible and eternal. The material body is temporary and subject to death, but the soul within is imperishable. No power can destroy this eternal essence. Krishna clarifies that the physical body is inherently perishable. By understanding this truth, Arjuna is urged to rise above grief and perform his duty. He explains that the soul can neither kill nor be killed. It is the conscious self, which remains untouched by physical violence. The body is merely an outer vessel. Krishna emphasizes that the true self is beyond the reach of the harm that can befall the physical form. Next, Krishna describes the soul as unborn, eternal, and primeval. It transcends the biological life cycle, never being born and never dying. Even when the material body is destroyed, the soul remains entirely untouched. It has no beginning, middle, or end. Krishna then asks how one who truly knows the soul to be indestructible and immutable can cause any death or harm. Using a powerful analogy, he compares the transition of the soul to changing old garments for new ones. Death is simply the shedding of a worn-out body. Because this transition is as natural as changing one's clothes, the wise do not lament the loss of the physical form. Krishna concludes this teaching by emphasizing that the soul is truly beyond the reach of the elements. Fire cannot burn it, and water cannot wet it. In this next verse, Krishna observes the mystery of the soul. He notes that some perceive the soul as amazing, while others speak of it or hear of it as a wonder. Even after hearing deep descriptions of the soul's nature, Krishna laments that many remain unable to truly understand its divine, eternal essence. Turning to Arjuna's specific duty as a warrior, Krishna declares that a battle occurring spontaneously is a rare, divine opportunity and an open gateway to heaven. Krishna encourages Arjuna to embrace this duty, explaining that for a kshatriya, engaging in a righteous war is a source of honor and spiritual progress. However, Krishna cautions that avoiding this battle out of personal hesitation would be a dereliction of his sacred duty, leading to sin and the loss of his reputation. Krishna highlights the gravity of this choice. For a noble and respected person, suffering the loss of honor is far more painful than the end of life itself. If Arjuna flees now, the great commanders who once admired him will only see his retreat as an act of cowardice, tarnishing his legacy forever. Beyond just the battlefield, Krishna warns that his enemies will use his withdrawal to fuel malicious propaganda against his character and strength. Krishna asks Arjuna, if his life is defined by reputation, what could be more agonizing than hearing such slander from his own rivals? In a concluding appeal to logic, Krishna tells Arjuna that dying on the battlefield guarantees him heaven, while winning guarantees him a peaceful kingdom. Therefore, Krishna calls on Arjuna to rise up, setting aside all doubt and hesitation to fight for what is right. Krishna then introduces the concept of equanimity. By treating success and failure, gain and loss, and happiness and misery as identical, one is freed from sin. He further explains that a focused mind dedicated to duty is singular, while those without such resolve are scattered by endless desires. Those overly attached to material rewards often miss the profound peace that comes from a single-pointed, disciplined intellect. Finally, Krishna urges Arjuna to transcend the three modes of material nature, becoming established in the self beyond all dualities.